Thanks for coming. Listen, this is it's a bit of a personal issue, and I'm really glad you could make it. I really appreciate it. I wasn't really sure who else to ask. You know what I mean? I mean, I've got a university education, and I tend to overanalyze everything. Listen, I had this really strange dream last night, and I thought maybe you could just listen to the story and let me know what you think afterwards, because I don't know if it means anything. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm crazy. And if I am, I'm not saying I wasn't crazy before, you know what I mean? I figured I had to share it with somebody that wouldn't judge me, and you're really the only person I know that, what's that? Yeah, I probably shouldn't be taking this so seriously, but, anyway, thanks for coming to listen. It might be a little disturbing, but again, this is a dream. It actually happened to me, and you can't choose what happens. Yeah, alright. So, when it started off, it's pretty hard to think about where dreams begin, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it was on a school bus, and this is funny because, you know, it's been like at least 6 years since I've actually been on like one of those high school buses, right? Yellow, it had gray leather seats, and I remember thinking that they were all placed too close together for some reason. But anyway, apparently a lot of the people on the school bus I recognized as like former classmates I'd had, kind of like friends I haven't seen in years. Anyway, me and you were in the seat in front of me, and we were near the front of the bus, right? I'm not really sure what was going on, because there was definitely some sort of tour guide business going on as well, right? Because there was a couple of people with like clipboards checking off names. And apparently what was going on is they were going to each person and trying to see what kind of food they'd like to order, because apparently either they were going to make the food on the bus, or the food was going to be ready when we got to our destination, whatever that was. Anyway, things started going wrong when one of the ladies near the middle of the bus kind of yelled a little bit, saying that her passenger couldn't order because either she was sleeping or had just died. Anyway, I looked back, and the tour lady, who, by the way, she looked almost exactly like someone I fell in love with when I was a kid. I haven't seen her in ages, you know, got out of touch, just like everyone else, I think, on the bus, in some form or another. Anyways, I turned back, and I could see very clearly that her partner was slumped over in her seat sideways, and didn't seem to be moving at all. The guide walked over, shook her a little bit, checked her pulse, but apparently she was completely cold, and yeah, dead. Anyway, of course this made the organizers quite nervous. They started talking to each other, but eventually, apparently, they decided to just ignore it and keep going, because after that she headed towards the front with her clipboard to quickly take the orders of everyone else and just leave the dead person lying there, which I was quite freaked out about. I'm not one to be very quick on decisions, especially when choosing food, but you can imagine the situation was not ideal. So, as I sat in my indecision, I just mentioned, just keep going, I'll come back to me, I'll figure it out, what I want to order. Of course, on my mind was the disturbing reality that there was a body on the bus. There was only about 4 people in front of me, including you. You had no trouble ordering something. Apparently you'd been there before and knew what to get. Anyway, as she neared taking the last few people's orders, the bus suddenly stopped for some reason. And a dark Asian man walked on, not much older than me. In fact, he looked just like an ASM artist that I'd recently subscribed to, only minus the sunglasses. He was carrying some sort of miniature assault rifle on a shoulder strap with him, and, well, he didn't even need to say anything. He just ended up shooting the first few people in the third row, we'll say. It's interesting because the bullets had no sound. I'm not sure. I just remember sitting there and thinking, this is just one of those times in life when something crazy happens and I just don't know how to react. I'll tell you right now, one thing I remember most, and I'll remember all my life, is when one of my university professors had a heart attack in the front of the classroom. And although I consider myself to be a courageous person, I mean, don't we all, I completely froze. I didn't know what to do. I just sat there. Everyone else kind of did as well. A few people called 911. A few people got some help in the hallway, but I totally froze. Dropped the ball entirely. Didn't know what to do. I'm going to kind of keep that moment with me for a long time. But I remember being on the bus and remembering my failure and thinking, no, this time I am going to be a hero. Alright? So I followed him very slowly out of my seat, and as he got to another row, I made a move for the gun. It was a big one, of course, and on his arm, so there was quite a bit of jostling about. But eventually I got it into my control, twisted around, and managed to shoot him, as I suppose would be fitting were it a CSI episode. I don't remember him actually dying or anything. I think he just fell away, and I ended up in possession of the gun. And the only thing running through my head was that maybe he had reinforcements. I had to get the gun off of the school bus for some reason. So I took it with me. I got off the school bus, and it turns out that the bus had stopped right outside my childhood home. Only, well, it was different, right? I remember the sky was kind of like a light brown. It was very dusty and hot, as contrast to the weather right now, which is a freak winter storm in the middle of spring. Or what we thought was spring. This is Canada, you know. Anyways, yeah. Very dusty, very hot. Kind of dilapidated. No one was around. Kind of had the same feeling as, like, maybe a mechanic's garage that had been completely abandoned, right? Which is what our actual garage used to be in a past life, so it's not that far-fetched. Anyway, I remember thinking that I had to hide it somewhere, so I walked behind the gas station and threw it into a puddle, but that's when this girl showed up, and she acted like she was my neighbor, like I should know her. I think she was of native background. She had long black hair and a ponytail, a tight jackets, pants with straps, a belt with survival gear, like she just came out of some sort of Fallout game or the zombie apocalypse. But as far as I knew in this universe, nothing like that had ever happened. She just looked the part. Anyway, she asked what I had hid in a very threatening tone, and that's when I realized by her voice that she was no older than a high school student. And since my goal was getting these weapons away from kids, apparently, this was not gonna work. Anyway, I dove back for the gun and attempted to conceal it. I probably came up with some sort of a story about it just being junk to get her to leave me alone, but I remember jumping the fence into my backyard and finding a large table filled with all sorts of tools. My dad must have been working on something out of wood. I remember putting the gun in an upright position on the table so that it kind of looked like a drill, and I figured by hiding it in plain sight that no one would actually think to, pick it up. Plus, I mean, if I needed any advice, my dad was around, right? In fact, he came in through the back door and mentioned, what are you doing? So I showed him safely by shooting it into the ground, and I think just as he started to ask me, who's following you, I woke up. It was a strange story, isn't it? I mean, we can't choose our dreams, but anyway, I'm not going crazy, am I? kind of strange, eh? Do you think it means anything? I know that you've always had kind of an idea for what things might mean, so get back to me in a little bit if you can. But just thought I'd share it with you, especially if it's warning me of the future, or that I let something go in my own life, because I just need another perspective. So thanks a lot for coming. No, thanks. Yeah. Good to see you again. And, yeah, let's go get a drink or something. Why not? We'll talk it over then, okay? Coffee's on me. I know how to make it right.